I woke up early, made my coffee, got ready for work. My job as a nurse kept me busy, but I loved helping people. I had a steady rhythm to my life. Church on Sundays, Bible study once a week, prayer time before bed. I wasn't perfect, far from it, but I believed in God. I tried to follow him the best way I knew how. But that day, something went wrong. I remember driving home after a long shift. It was raining hard, the kind of rain that makes the road look like a river. I was tired, probably too tired to be behind the wheel, but I thought I could make it. I always had before. Then, sudden movement. A car swerved into my lane. Horns blaring, tires screeching. Time slowed down. I barely had time to react. The impact was loud, like thunder inside a metal box. My body jolted forward, and then everything went dark. When I came to, I wasn't in pain. That surprised me. I expected pain. Broken bones, maybe worse. But instead, I felt weightless, like I was floating. I looked around, confused. There was no ceiling, no walls, just light. Not harsh, not blinding. Gentle, warm, peaceful. And then I saw my body, lying on the pavement. Paramedics rushing toward it. People shouting. Someone was screaming my name. Wait, that's me. No, that can't be right. I tried to run to them, to tell them I was okay, but I couldn't move. Or maybe I could. I just didn't know how anymore. Panic set in. Was this a dream? Was I still alive? I didn't understand what was happening. All I knew was that I was no longer in my body. And yet I was still me, still aware, still feeling. And somehow I knew I had died. There was no tunnel of light like they sometimes talk about. No bright white hallway or golden gates. At least, not at first. Just a quiet space. A soft glow all around me, like being wrapped in warmth and peace. I felt different, lighter, like I'd taken off a heavy coat I hadn't realized I was wearing my whole life. I could think clearly, sharper, faster. Emotions were still there, but they weren't chaotic anymore. They were calm, like waves gently lapping against the shore. And then the confusion hit. What do I do now? Where am I going? Is this heaven? Am I supposed to meet God? I wanted answers, but none came right away. Instead, I began to notice things. Details, like how I could see thoughts, people's thoughts, as they passed by me. Not in words exactly, but in feelings, in colors, in pictures. It was strange, but not scary. I watched as paramedics worked on my body. I heard their voices, distant like echoes in a cave. I wanted to tell them I was still here, that I could hear them, that I was watching. But they couldn't see me. That's when the loneliness crept in. Not anger, not fear, just loneliness. Like I was standing outside a room everyone else was in, and I couldn't get through the door. I reached out toward my co-workers, my family, my friends. I remembered the last thing I said to my mom before leaving for work. I wished I'd hugged her tighter. And then, I felt a presence beside me. Not human, not scary, just there. A figure of light. Not a person, but not a person either. Full of love, full of peace. It didn't speak with words, but I understood it perfectly. Come, and so I did. As I followed that being of light, I felt my surroundings begin to change. The peaceful glow turned into something more defined, like stepping into a new room, except this room stretched beyond anything I'd ever seen. There were others there. Spirits, I guess. Some looked familiar, like they belonged to people I might have known. Others were completely unknown to me, but none of them seemed afraid. Most looked relieved. One spirit approached me, a man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He didn't say anything at first. He just looked at me, and I felt something wash over me. Love. Deep, unconditional love. Like every good thing I'd ever done was wrapped around me like a warm blanket. He smiled and said, "Welcome, Grace." How did he know my name? Before I could ask, he raised his hand, and suddenly, I was seeing moments of my life flash before me. Not just memories, but everything. Every choice. Every word. Every action, no matter how small. I saw the times I was selfish. The times I judged others. The times I held grudges. But I also saw the times I showed love. When I forgave someone who hurt me. When I gave without expecting anything in return. It wasn't a punishment. It was a mirror. And in that mirror, I saw myself for who I really was. Not just the parts one liked to show the world, but all of me. And yet, there was no condemnation. Only understanding. The man looked at me and said, "You lived your life with love, but you still had much to learn." I wanted to cry, not because I was ashamed, but because I finally saw the truth. And the truth was beautiful, even the broken parts. Then the scene shifted again. We were moving, gliding, almost toward a place that felt both ancient and eternal. A place where souls gathered, a waiting place. And that's where I would spend some time. The waiting place wasn't a prison. It wasn't hell. It wasn't heaven either. It was in between. Imagine a large hall, not made of walls or ceilings, but of energy and light. Souls wandered through it, some sitting quietly, others pacing like they were waiting for news. Some cried softly, while others talked in hushed tones, sharing stories of their lives. It was peaceful but not joyful. It felt like a hospital waiting room, where people know something important is about to happen, but they don't know what. I asked the man beside me, "Why are we here?" He replied, "Because not all journeys end the same way. Some need time to reflect, to understand, to prepare." I watched as a woman sat alone, holding her hands together like she was praying. She looked worried. Another soul paced nearby, muttering under his breath. I could feel his regret, like a storm trapped inside him. Some spirits were filled with peace. Others carried burdens, guilt, shame, confusion. But no one was punished. No one was cast out. Everyone was simply waiting. I asked, "For what?" The man looked at me kindly. "For clarity, for healing, for purpose." Then he added, "And for those who choose to return, there is still a chance." Return. I didn't understand what he meant at first. Return to what? To this life. And that's when I realized I hadn't been sent straight to heaven. I hadn't been condemned either. I was here to learn, to see, to understand. And maybe, just maybe, I still had a chance to go back. A moment later, I felt a pull, like a thread connected me to something far away. I didn't know where it was leading me, but I followed. Suddenly, I was no longer in the waiting place. I was somewhere else entirely. My old house. I stood in the living room, frozen. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. The same couch, the same framed Bible verse on the wall, the same mug on the counter. But the house was quiet, too quiet. Then I saw my mom, sitting on the couch, clutching my favorite sweater. She was crying, not loudly but silently, tears streaming down her face. I wanted to run to her, to hug her, to tell her I was okay. But I couldn't. I was invisible, a spirit watching from the sidelines. I moved to the hospital. My body was still there, surrounded by doctors and nurses. My co-workers were devastated. One of them whispered, "Please wake up, Grace." Then I went to church. People were praying for me, laying hands on each other, asking God to bring me back. I saw my boyfriend at the time, kneeling by my hospital bed. His voice cracked as he begged God to save me. And then I saw someone unexpected, an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years. She was praying too, whispering words of faith, asking God to hold me close. In that moment, I understood something powerful. Prayer matters, even when we can't see it, even when we don't believe it. Prayer connects us to something bigger than ourselves. It reaches across dimensions, across time, across life and death. And those prayers, they weren't just for show. They were pulling me back. God was giving me a choice. Would I stay here, in this peaceful realm? Or would I go back to the chaos, the mess, the pain of this world? I didn't know the answer yet, but I needed to see more. I was pulled again, this time to a place unlike any I'd seen before. It wasn't dark. It wasn't fiery. It wasn't filled with torment. It was still, quiet, majestic. I stood before something greater than I could describe. Not a throne, not a king, not even a form I could fully grasp. Just presence, power, holiness. And in that presence, I felt nothing but love. Not the kind of love that overlooks sin. Not the kind that excuses bad choices. But the kind of love that sees everything and still chooses grace. I felt my heart open, not physically but spiritually, as if every layer of my soul was peeled back, and I was laid bare before the source of all life. And then I heard a voice, not with my ears, but with my spirit. "Grace, what do you see?" I looked inward. I saw my life again, but this time, it wasn't just actions. It was intentions, motives, desires, the things I told people, the things I never said out loud, the things I buried deep inside. And in that moment, I understood. Judgment isn't about ticking boxes. It's about the condition of the heart. I saw the times I served others out of obligation, not love. I saw the times I helped someone, but secretly hoped they'd owe me something in return. I saw the times I prayed, but didn't truly trust. And yet, I also saw the times I gave freely. The times I loved when it cost me something. The times I chose mercy over justice. I realized, God doesn't measure us by our failures alone. He weighs our hearts. He sees what we're becoming. He knows the battles we fight in secret. And then I heard the voice again. Your heart is not perfect, but it is open, and that is enough. Tears welled up in my spiritual eyes. Not sadness, relief, freedom, because I hadn't earned heaven. I didn't deserve it, but I was still invited. And then I was given a choice. Would I stay, or would I go back? Before I could answer, I was shown something incredible. I saw the timeline of the first year after death unfold before me. Like a movie playing in fast motion, I watched souls move through different paths based on their choices in life. Some entered into peace immediately. They walked into light, surrounded by joy. These were the ones whose hearts were full of love, whose lives were rooted in kindness and humility. They didn't need to wait. Their journey was complete. Others lingered in the waiting place, learning, growing, reflecting. Some found peace after months of inner struggle. Others resisted the truth and remained stuck, unable to let go of bitterness or pride. I saw a man who had lived selfishly. After death, he was given time to see how his actions affected others. He wept as he watched his children grow up without a father. Over time, he softened, repented. Then he was free. I saw a woman who had spent her life hiding from God. She didn't want to face him. She didn't want to admit her mistakes. For months, she stayed in darkness, refusing to move forward. But eventually, even she turned toward the light. And then I saw the worst path, the one chosen by those who rejected love, who clung to hatred and rebellion. They didn't go to a place of fire. They went to a place of separation, of silence, of emptiness, not because God cast them out, but because they chose to walk away from him. And that's when I understood. Eternity begins the moment we choose our path. So many people think they'll get a second chance after death. But the truth is, our choices in life shape what comes next. We don't get a redo. We get a reflection, a reckoning, a chance to face what we've built. And if we accept love, if we open our hearts, there is always hope. But if we refuse it, then we remain apart. And that is the truest form of hell. After seeing all of this, I was brought back to the presence of light. The same being who had guided me from the beginning stood before me. Grace, he said gently, you have seen the truth. You have seen the consequences of choices. You have seen the mercy of the Father. Now you must decide. I trembled. I didn't know what to say. You can stay here in peace, or you can return to finish what was left undone. Return. The word echoed in my soul. Could I really go back? Would I even want to? This place was perfect. No pain, no fear, no guilt, just pure, unfiltered love. But then I thought of my mother, of my friends, of the prayers that had reached across realms to touch me. I thought of the unfinished chapters of my life, the lessons I hadn't learned, the love I still had to give. And I realized I wasn't done yet. I looked at the being and whispered, I want to go back. He nodded, and the light grew brighter. I felt myself being pulled again, faster this time, like a current dragging me backward through time. And then, pain, cold, noise, light. I gasped. I was back in my body.